What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Turn the Jets podcast. I'm your host, Will Parkinson, at WillPod11 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. All 32 pod, TOJ Talks. We all know the deal. A little recap pod here from Sunday. Wanted to get this one out yesterday, but between all 32 and a bunch of other stuff, wasn't able to get it out. So getting out tonight. Jets win in Jacksonville, 32-25. I thought an exciting and fun Jets afternoon. I know it's too little too late. I know it's Will, who cares? They're eliminated already, and why didn't we see this earlier? And look, trust me, there's all of those questions, all of those concerns. I totally empathize with. I get it, man. Like, I get it better than anybody. But at the end of the day, it was nice to see the Jets put up 30-plus points. It was nice to see the Jets get a win, albeit against a pretty putrid Jags team that's, frankly, as much as they're not a good team, they're in a very similar spot to what the Jets are in terms of, underachieved. I think they either have 5 or 7 losses by less than 5 points. They lose another close and tough one on Sunday afternoon. They've gone through the Trevor Lawrence injuries, potential coaching change. They've had an abomination of a year because they're another team that was expected to be a playoff team this year and compete for the division and all these different things. And unfortunately, it didn't happen for them. I think the big takeaways from Sunday, I'll touch on the Belichick thing at the end here. And this will be a quick 15-minute or so one. We'll have some guests on later in the week to talk a little Jets-Rams, to talk, some other different kind of things going around. But, since the bye, I know Rodgers wasn't perfect against Seattle by any means, but generally speaking, in Indy and stuff, it's not like he was perfect, but he definitely started to move around better. I thought that Seattle was really moving around better. And then the last 2 weeks, he's been a totally different player. I think each week he's gotten more confident, better, and yes, different competition and all those different things. And again, I'm fully aware it's too little too late and all that different stuff. But seeing the way Rodgers, who was not perfect on Sunday, he missed Garrett Wilson once or twice. I thought he had a poor effort. I thought he could have hit Davante potentially earlier in the game on a similar deep ball, and he also missed Garrett once on there was a kind of a 10-yard out, and he just flat-footed through it, didn't have enough arm strength on it. But generally was really awesome on Sunday. He ran for 40-plus, threw for 285-plus, 3-plus touchdowns. Could have had 4 or 5, if not 4. Davante gets tackled at the one of the times. The other time, Allen Lazard. I mean, enough at this point of Lazard, by the way. I understand there's a million other things to talk about, but how many killer drops is he going to have in his 2 years here? And that reminded me so much of the Minnesota game, and that's where it felt like he was going, where Rodgers makes this perfect ball, seam ball down the left hash, and Lazard drops it. Easy touchdown, walk-in touchdown. Jets are going to go up. They proceed to miss a field goal. You were like, oh, Jesus. Here we go again. That's just what it felt like. But Rodgers, I thought, was really good. The offense barely wasn't on the field at all in the second quarter. I think they only had 4 plays, if I'm not mistaken. Jaguars did 11 or 12-minute drive. The Jets go 3 and out, and Jags finish at the half. So, again, overall as an afternoon, I thought Rodgers was really good. I thought he built on last week. I think it's the second week in a row he's gotten them in position to take the lead, with a couple minutes to go, which is really nice to see. Starting to get some of those, kind of game-winning drive types. The defense didn't hold last time. This time, they didn't technically really hold either, but Rodgers went down and converted again. The throw to Davante, obviously, to take the lead was special, but I thought even a better throw was just the Rodgers, I believe it was third down, the 28 or so yard ball, go ball to Davante. Incredible catch. And then his patience in the pocket, where I feel like earlier this year he panicked, didn't want to get hit, didn't trust the hamstring. It was obviously reported by Jay Glazer and others and Connor Hughes, I believe, invested in why that Rodgers had such a bad hamstring injury it was the only way you couldn't hurt it any worse with it being attached to the bone. Obviously at the ankle, the knees and stuff. And you just saw it, and Rodgers made some plays with his legs, and people had to respect that. The Jets' running game wasn't able to really get going. I'm a little perplexed as to why Breece Hall is playing if he's not even close to 100% healthy. It's him and Michael Carter, 2 really key contributors for this team going forward. Both guys are, if you wouldn't begrudge the Jets if they said, hey, 3 weeks to go. I know you don't want to do it. You guys are both tough as fucking shit and really want to be a part of this thing and help grow. And I get it. But as 2 guys we need next year, we'd like to see you, heal the back, heal the knee, etc. But run game wasn't able to get going, but Olu Fashanu, another fantastic effort. Joe Tippmann's really started to establish himself as a is a good player in this league and a building block. I thought AVT's gotten better. John Simpson's been a good player. I thought Morgan Moses is playing through a heck of a lot and still giving you something. So, from an offensive line perspective, you got some franchise potential level guys. You've got some veterans that have done some good stuff. You feel good about that group going into next year. No Tyler Conklin on Sunday afternoon was having a baby, so congrats to him and his wife. That's awesome to see. But the tight ends didn't really. Rucker and Yabo didn't exactly ball out. This wasn't really a game for them, but wouldn't say they were like, wow, we really established ourselves. But Garrett was awesome. Drew some pass interference penalties. Had the really nice touchdown. Probably could have had 150 yards himself. But between some of the pass interference yardage and a couple times Rodgers maybe not hitting him, still a really nice afternoon. Obviously, Garrett gets in the end zone. Davante was special. He was prime Davante on Sunday afternoon. He was first half, I believe, had the drop, but other than that was non-existent in the first half. And listen, 9 for 198 in any type of game is insane. 9 for 198 and 2 tuds. Could have been 4 and a half is fucking nuts. And good for Davante. Look, I understand that there's a good chance he potentially won't be back next year, money-wise, Rodgers-wise, etc. Contract is a simple restructure. Say the Jets about $20+ million. He'll play in a $12 million cap hit next year. I'd do that in a heartbeat if I'm the Jets. The question, I think, is what happens with Rodgers? And I'll talk about that in a second. But I think if Rodgers plays next year in New York, which I still don't think is maybe the odds-on favorite per se, but I do think it's not totally insane or out of the question. He's probably the best bridge option they have. And if the new head coach and new GM want him, I get it. If they don't want him, I also get it. And he doesn't want to be here, all those things. But I'd say if Rodgers retires or is here, I think Davante's here. I think the question will be if Rodgers says, I'm going to Tennessee, or I'm going to Vegas, or I'm going to, I don't know, who knows? Find a team. Does Davante follow him? Does he say, hey, I'd like to play alongside Garrett for the last couple of years and get my stats as high as I can? And maybe, the Jets are able to figure out something at quarterback. I don't know. So all I know is I'd like to have him back. I think that'd be fantastic. I think it makes Garrett Wilson better. I think it makes this offense better. And Davante still has a ton of ball left in him. Like I said on the Rodgers thing, I'd like to see how he plays over the next couple of weeks. I don't think we have to rush to a decision one way or another. I don't think the Jets do either. Look, Rodgers could play well against the Rams, decently against Buffalo, well against Miami, look healthy, and you could say Mike Vrabel, maybe says, hey, I want the high floor guy. It's the argument I made, 6-7 weeks ago. Maybe that's how he views things, right? And he said, hey, I want the high floor guy. I think I can get this thing right and have a chance to compete next year. And then, in 2 years, we'll reset it. We'll draft somebody. They're not going to go anywhere near the field. And that's a real possibility. They could also say, hey, maybe now you have some form of a trade value. I don't know. Or Rodgers says, I wanted to play 17 and get my 500th touchdown. And, once the season went awry and I was able to do that and I'm going to walk away. I don't know. There's a million different things. We really don't know anything because while the Jets probably would like to maybe start fresh, I also don't think they're opposed to I don't know that people are opposed to the idea of Rodgers if the next head coach and GM. I just think it's up to the next head coach and the next GM. Bottom line, that's what it is. I want to touch on the defense quickly, and I'll touch quickly on Jeff Ulbrich. Look, Rodgers basically kind of let the cat out of the bag. Said they're 3-10. They wanted to score a touchdown there. I still think you could have made them use the other 2 timeouts at the end of the game, but it is what it is. That's the decision they made, and they ended up working out. You would hope that if this was a game that mattered, they wouldn't have made that approach. They would have at least made them use their timeouts and made the Jags have as little time as possible to score there. Defensively, not a great effort at all. I thought the majority of the players didn't really play particularly well. I want to give Sauce a shout out because I feel like he played well on Sunday afternoon. I don't know, but I felt certainly like he did. I was a little surprised that people were. He had the 2 penalties. One of them I thought was good hand fighting. The other one, sure, it was holding, but it's third string tight end. You're not really expecting, him on a scramble drill to get called for that, but he did. It was right in front of the ref. But he had the interception, and I know it's an easy interception in a sense. It was like he was open, and you're like, Mac, who you throwing it to? But Mac Jones, the guy that's tormented Sauce He punched him in the nuts a couple years ago. He's a guy who was 5-0 against the Jets. He was taunting them all afternoon. And Sauce needed that. He clinched it. He said he was in front of friends and family and felt really good. I want to see one of the Jets' cornerstone guys feeling good. Sauce having a game-winning interception and Garrett playing really well and some of these other guys playing well is like Will McDonald had some exceptional rushes, Olu fashion. Like, that stuff's fun, man. So, look, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but at the end of the day, I was pleased with the victory. I think that they wouldn't have gained it. I think they would have gained potentially one spot in the draft. They fall to 8 instead of 7. 3 games to go, obviously, and I'll preview those in the midweek and the end of the week pods. Last 2 things here. In terms of, Connor Hughes reporting the Jets will have extreme interest in Mike Vrabel. The Jets also interviewed John Robinson. They're going to interview Louis Riddick and interview Thomas Dimitroff. In terms of Dimitroff and Robinson, both guys, Dimitroff's a 2-time executive of the year, but has not obviously been a GM since 2020. John Robinson worked with Mike Vrabel for 6 years in Tennessee. Started off really hot down in Tennessee. First couple of years, they ended up struggling, obviously. He got fired, basically. Traded AJ Green and drafted poorly in the first round. So, in terms of that, I would say, like, I'm open to the idea of maybe Dimitroff. I think there's better candidates than those 3. The Riddick thing, I don't want to touch too much on Dimitroff and Robinson because they're all right now. The Jets are interviewing the guys that are not employed, right? So getting some of those interviews, starting the process. I like the idea. I think it's a smart thing to do. Wide net, guys from all different walks of life, different walks of the NFL, employed, unemployed, good organizations, do an interview with a ton of people. Here's my pushback with Riddick, and I've seen people actually be quite supportive of this. He hasn't been in a front office since 2013, and I understand he does a good job on TV, and he's well-spoken, and is a smart guy, and it's not like he's not around football and all that stuff, but I'd be pretty hard-pressed to hire somebody that has not been a GM ever, and the last time they were in a front office was 11 years ago. The NFL is very different than it was 11 years ago. So, yeah, I don't want to put too much stock in that. Dimitroff's easily number 1 of the 3 candidates they've interviewed so far, but again, hasn't been a GM in 4 years, been working on the analytical side, which is good to see. Again, was successful in Atlanta for a lot of time, but again, that era came to an end and they moved on. So, lastly, on the Bill Belichick story, and then again, a lot of Rams talk, a lot more kind of on Rodgers and different things. Here's where I kind of land on the Bill Belichick wanted the Jets job. I think this makes the Jets look good, frankly. I think that the Jets probably wanted this out there that, hey, our job's a good job. Even Bill, who shits all over us 24/7 for the last 25 years, was even interested in our job. I'd be curious to know if it was like Bill, the Jets saying no, or the Jets saying, hey, we just want to continue with our process. If you want to be a part of that, you'll interview just like everybody else. Not sure how that kind of would have gone down, but I don't think Bill's the right fit for the job. Yeah, I mean, maybe you could have argued, hey, if it was just Bill the coach, not with any of the other baggage, and he could establish an identity here. Yeah, sure. Like, I could be talked into it, but I also feel like I could be talked into the fact that, listen, man, like, I don't know that the Jets really want to have the Patricias and Steve Belichick's and the whole night, the Joe Judges of the world and the whole kind of regime and Bill wanting to take over the building. I just don't know if that was the right move. So good on the Jets for at least just saying, nope, we're good, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. You can interview just like everybody else. Nobody in the NFL wanted Belichick. It turns out, because that's why he's at University of North Carolina with Mike Lombardi and eventually with Patricia and Judge and the whole gang. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with the Jets doing that. Again, I thought it was a fun victory on Sunday afternoon. Davante was special. I thought Aaron was really good. Garrett was awesome. Olu Fashanu was fantastic. Sauce had a really nice afternoon with the interception. And yeah, the Jets move on 4-10. Rodgers 2 touchdowns away from 500, 9 away from breaking Fitzpatrick's record. I believe he needs about 240 yards as well a game over the next 3 to break the Jets all-time single season record. So just an insane year. Appreciate it for listening, and I will be back on the feed soon.